when the visitor walks into this bedroom, which was Adeline's bedroom, the only daughter of Moses Myers, who died of a broken heart in her 40s, never married, and she's the one that haunts the house, apparently, although she's never done anything to my installation, so I think she's kind of happy about it. The visitor can open the door and discover Adelines Portal. So these are referencing the objects that I found on that day, plus there's no images of Adeline. We don't know what she looked like, but they have one object that she created, and that is a sampler, a needlepoint sampler, which is hanging above the fireplace, if you can see it on the upper left-hand corner. And so I remade that sampler 3 by 4 feet and hung it in front of the window in the back. Fairly recently was asked to respond to something at the New Britain Museum of Art and in Connecticut. And I chose Thomas Hart Benton, which, by the way, your Benton is fabulous. Oh my God, it's so good. Your Benton is so unbelievable here. I posted it. It's so good. It's getting a lot of hits on Instagram. But so I'm very curious about Benton and his life. His mural, this particular mural, The Arts of Life in America, was created for the Whitney, deaccessioned in the 50s after he fell out of favor when Jackson Pollock rose to fame. And it was purchased for $500. So he was the first artist that was ever on the cover of Time. And then he literally went almost into obscurity during the rest of his life when abstract expressionism rose. And I think he apparently was a difficult person to begin with. But I think, he was not happy about that. Is that accurate? You know that, right? Okay. So anyway, I proposed doing a response. So this, let's see if I have a detail here. So I kind of pulled some objects from that mural, and I started to juxtapose an understanding of spirituality and materiality in America today. So this is aspects of American life. I did not know it was being installed next to the Benton until I got there, and I think that was a good thing, because I would have freaked out. And then in my own home, these are objects that I live with that were either given to me as gifts or I've collected, and I've responded to those in the whatnots that you'll find upstairs. So these I think of as portraits of myself at that time. What am I doing on time? Okay, all right, okay. So speaking of portraits, so initially when I started working in still life, I was thinking about the parallels. I'm always thinking about different times in history paralleling the time that we're living now, and so I was specifically looking at the Dutch Golden Era, and I was living in New York City at that time. I was thinking a lot about consumerism and desiring of objects and representation of wealth, and that kind of sparked the whole impetus for still life. The great thing about still life and all of these canons of art history really is that there's so much room for growth and exploration that you can dip into different parts of this huge pool of information in portraiture, landscape, still life. So now when I'm working in still life, it's very, I'm thinking about different things, even though the work kind of shifts in this way or that way, and it might be recognizable as mine. I'm thinking now more about mortality, material culture issues. What do these objects say about us as a society, me as an individual, or the person that I'm making it about, or the institution I'm making it about? This is called Bride. This is at the North Carolina Museum of Art. So thinking not only about the canon of marriage, but also Duchamp, and thinking, kind of psychically about all of these different layers. The more layers, the better. Also thinking about body and thinking about furniture and objects in their relationship to body and combining the human body or depictions of the human body inside and outside within objects. This is a very recent, I did not make these pieces. Did you think that? This is a very recent piece I completed, 2013. This is called Sideboard with Blue China. And this shrine, it's about 26 feet long, is, it combines things that we consume with organs, human organs. So we have the heart, lungs, brain, female and male genitalia, feet, legs, combined with corn, wheat, birds, there's hands, pencils. The left and the right are flanked by a dog and snakes and eggs as well. And here's some details. It's kind of hard to see, I'm sorry. That's a hand down here. You can see it with keys and pencils and books. It's easier to see in person, I'm sorry about the images. And this piece I just finished. It's called Secretary with Chipmunk. It's for the Chipstone Foundation. This is the first time I was allowed to actually modify a permanent collection piece. Anyway, so this secretary, it's a Bombay secretary from Boston. It was one of the Stones' most cherished possessions when they were alive. It was deemed to be partially faked after he passed away. And I've had a long relationship with the Chipstone Foundation that's been very, very fruitful and exciting for me at this point, almost 10 years. And they wanted to do a project with me, and they said, what if we give you one of these pieces and you can just modify it, which is it's not done really normally. Museums do not give permanent collections to artists and have them cut through it and all that stuff. It doesn't happen. So it's been a lively discussion, actually. But this piece depicts the five senses, and its starting dialogue is with the Age of Enlightenment and also the understanding of Rococo as a revolution. So you've got the grotto on the top, the cartouche, the Rococo cartouche. You've got on the left side of the door, if you're facing it left, you've got eyes, ears on the right. You've got touch on the fall board. Inside, there's salt and sugar flasks for taste with the tongue that kind of comes out through the vagina dentata in the center. Inside the bookcase is a footed bowl with lemons. What else am I missing? Is that all five? Did I say everything? I can't remember. Anyway, going on in time a little bit, this is Ingelena Clennell behind the right side here. I did a collaboration with her in 2010 called Glimmering Gone, and that kind of sparked an exploration that I'm currently still on now. So I'm going to show you some images of Glimmering Gone. You walk down the hallway, there are cultural objects on the left side. When you came into this space, you actually approached from this direction. When you went around, you hit a vista and you found a landscape. So it was a juxtaposition of cultural objects with the natural world. And really the viewer completed that entire installation because you found yourself in between. Here's another detail of that piece. It was supported by the Museum of Glass in Tacoma, and they now have the landscape. I'm really indebted to them as well as both are. And so that kind of like started bringing nature and landscape back into my work. Picture with Fine, you'll find upstairs. I did a whole series kind of exploring kudzu. I was looking for moments of excess in nature, just in much the same way that there's moments of excess with the Harlem Lake tables with the still life genre. This is called flotsam and jetsam. It is cascading kind of kudzu that sheds over basically detritus, just trash, which is not, it's glass trash from my studio. Here's a detail of that. In 2014, I did a residency in Alaska called the Chipmunk Lodge Residency Program. It's for artists, and it's also for people who want to see that area of Alaska, Lake Clark, and also the Twin Lakes. And so I sent glass. These are my girls. They dress themselves alike, okay? I don't do that. Just in case you're wondering out there, parents, you might be thinking about that. And that's Lucy. She's part chow and part wolf, and she guarded over my children the whole month we were up there with my husband did too, obviously. The dog was really helpful. So I sent glass up to Alaska, and I created photographs, still lifes that were also somewhat portraits and landscape, combining all three canons at one time in unplein essentially. So I would set up backdrops in the marsh and places around the lodge, and I started to create landscape to place objects as surrogates for myself and individuals and the human in landscape. So this is all about echo right now. You catching that? Okay, I'm almost finished. All right, so I also did a residency at the Smithsonian I did the Smithsonian Artist Research Fellowship. And you can choose any institution of the Smithsonian and do research there. And I did my research in the Natural History Museum. So I started studying deep time, essentially, and specifically paleoflora. I was looking at the last stage of global warming. And these are actually some fossils from that age. And I said, well, I was talking to the man that was hosting me, the paleobiologist, Scott Wing, and I said, these leaves look the same as what I see outside in my backyard. And he said, the venation is totally different. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I gotta have a different plan because this is not gonna work for me. I do not even have veins in my work, you know? It's just like I'm a generalist. So I kind of shifted the focus. It was really helpful. I shifted the focus to thinking about depicting plants that I thought looked ancient and were actually, in fact, ancient. When I say that, we're all ancient, right? It's a misnomer. I was corrected, believe me, at the Natural History Museum. But it's early diverging plants. So plants that look the same now or similar as they did during the Carboniferous period, like 50 million years ago, that look the same, like ferns, mosses, lichens, ginkgos, evergreens, conifers, that kind of thing. So while I was doing this residency, I did make this. This is an 8 by 12 drawing on the wall. And this was my fantasy of what those landscapes might look like, because I started looking at the paleo-scientific illustrations as well. And I developed a relationship with the scientific illustrator on site there, which was fascinating because she was having to depict what 3 or 4 different scientists thought the world looked like. And they didn't all agree on what the world looked like. So there were illustrations that I totally bought into. I was like, oh my God, I wish I could see that. That's amazing looking. She was like, totally incorrect, completely outdated. The world looked nothing like that. And I was like, but I want, okay, but then what you're making now is also going to be, you know, so it was once again, belief system was really interesting there. But you can't really talk about belief system with scientists very much because they don't like to talk about what they do as a belief system necessarily. For good reason, I understand that. This is called Late Timetable with cycad. There's cycads, also ancient flora, that pierce through this table. The base is a paleo landscape, or my understanding of what it might have looked like. Already outdated, as we know. And then the top is cultural objects. So there's Spenophyllum down there. There's all kinds. Some of the plants are known to be extinct, and others persevere that are in that landscape. I will leave you with this. These are my last couple of slides. I wonder if I can play this from here. Yeah. Now you don't have to listen to me if you just watch the fire. In the fall, I started to do a residency at the Kohler Company, which is the main reason I'm in Wisconsin right now, actually, because I started by doing a residency there, and then I worked for the John Michael Kohler Arts Center. Isn't that awesome? And then recently I went back and did another residency in the Foundry this time. And I took these ideas of combining deep time, or representation of deep time, through paleoflora, and combined them with tiny little miniature dollhouse cultural objects, and created cast iron and brass dioramas, which I'm going to show you after you watch the fire. Isn't that awesome? They melt 9 tons every 40 minutes. It's like unbelievable. You can't even believe it. Even when you're standing there, you can't believe it. Anyway, all right, we'll move on. So this is what my positive looked like prior. Disregard the acorns. You don't really see that in there because it's not really ancient flora. It's just this. But you've got staghorn ferns, moss, lichen, things like that. I built them into cardboard boxes. And then this is the casting. This is called the Distill series. And so this is what everything is simultaneously destroyed with the fire in the sand mold, and also created at the same time. I just have a few more. Here's two more. This one is cast iron and then plated with a gold that they use on faucets. I think these might be the last two. Yeah, there's my website. Would it be updated?